YouTube, what's good, man? It's your boy. YouTube, what's good, man? It's your boy 2DK, and I'm back with another video, man. In today's video, bro, we're gonna be reacting to Young Don, the sauce guy. He stole the only things I love. Now, apparently, by the title, somebody's stealing my man's Don stuff, and the stuff that they stealing is the stuff that the man loves. So we about to react to this video, so without further ado, let's get into the video.
Eventually, I decided to go and investigate, Started to climb up the hill, and at the very top of the hill was a small yellow house. I went up to the front grill, and I started knocking on the metal bars separating me from the inside of the house. I knocked and knocked and knocked, thinking that Kevin was just one summer back in Jamaica. I was about 11 years old. My mom packed me and my little sister up in the car and drove 2.5 hours out to the country to visit my auntie Paulette. We did this almost every year when I was a kid, and I really enjoyed it because I was a city kid. Grew up in Kingston. The country was a very different place for me. In the country, you go to sleep with the front door wide open without worrying that someone was going to break in. You spent all your time outside because there was always more things to do outside than inside. And when you got hungry, all you had to do was look around, and there would be some kind of fruit tree that you could go and pick fresh fruit from. But the thing I like most about the country,
I bet that was cool though,
were the people. People from the country
just get fruit from any tree.
An honest life. Something about the city just makes people slimy and grimy. It's a cutthroat pace of life.
It's that city life, bro.
Country, it's just good food, good people, and good vibes. So after a long, bumpy drive to the country, my mom finally pulls up in my auntie's driveway at the top of a hill at the end of a long, windy dirt road. It was a big white single-story house with a red shingled roof. She had a big front yard with a pumpkin patch, and there was always this dog that would sit in the front yard and stare at you. This was not my auntie's dog. Nobody knew where the dog came from. It just came and went as it pleased. Still, my auntie would feed the dog. Why? Because that's just what people from the country do. They're all just good people, Or at least, that's what I thought. But as much as I love going to visit my auntie in the country, I never liked staying there too long. Because wasn't much there for a kid to do. And at the time, my auntie didn't have cable television, so it's not like I could watch a TV show.
My man was bored, bro.
This was also before Wi-Fi was a commonplace thing, so no internet. And even if there was, YouTube, Netflix, none of these things were invented as yet. And worst of all, besides my sister, I ain't have no one my age to play with, So 3 days. That's about how long I would last before I started trying to befriend the dog outside, who I named Fred. Why? Because he looked like a Fred. Duh. But this summer would be different. I was not going to be subjected to a week of boredom, but instead, my heart would be broken, and I was going to have my first true taste of betrayal. So one day, I was sitting on the steps at the front of the house, very bored, when I saw another kid my age walking past the front gate. At first, I wasn't going to say anything, but I couldn't let an opportunity like this pass. I ran out to the road, and I yelled out to him, "Yo! Hey!" He stopped and turned around. Hey! You live around here?
Yeah, I live up the hill.
Oh! Hey, you wanna play a game or something?
Okay, yeah. Let me ask my mom first.
Okay.
Bro, why are they being so weird?
I should probably ask my mom first. Can you wait?
I'm gonna come back. Let me just tell my mom I'm gonna be down here.
Yeah, alright. Okay. And off he went. I grabbed the football that was sitting in front of the yard and sat on the stairs and waited. Sure enough, eventually, this kid came running down the hill. His name was Kevin, and Kevin was my new friend. And we played all day long. He showed me the different hiking trails around the area. He even ate dinner with us. And at the end of the day,
he became the
went back
homie.
home and I went inside. And for the first time, instead of worrying about how I was going to pass the time, I worried about the day that I would have to leave my new friend from the country that I would probably never see again. The next day, Kevin came back down to play, but this time he brought his Game Boy SP. I had told him the day before that if he brought his game, we could play video games together. He only had one game, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. Of course,
Kirby go hard, bro. If y'all never played Kirby, bro, y'all missing out, man.
My games. I mean, this was my new best friend. I opened my little pouch that I kept all of my video game cartridges in. I had like 6 or 7, and I told him that he could borrow any game that he would like, except for my Pokemon Emerald. That was my favorite game at the time, and I was very protective over it. He picked a game, and we started to play. Here we were, 2 boys that barely knew each other, not saying a single word, playing completely different games, all the while still greatly enjoying each other's company. Do girls have anything like that? I wonder. Eventually, we probably switch back to playing soccer or spend time throwing small rocks at bigger rocks. Who knows? Who cares? We were just
they
boys
just
and
vibing, bro.
The third day wasn't much different from the last. Kevin came down the hill. We played some video games. We played some football. And when the sun started to go down, Kevin had to go home. But this time, Kevin did something new. He asked me for a favor. Like I said, Kevin only had one game, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. On the third day, he asked me if he could borrow some of my games overnight. He had never played any of the games I had, and he wanted to try some of them out before I left. At first, I wasn't sure, because these games were the most valuable things that I had. But he said he would leave his Kirby game as some form of insurance, and I was interested in seeing what this whole Kirby thing was about. I told him he could borrow any 3 games that he would like. He chose Sonic Advance,
Well, my man's done being too nice.
and my Pokemon Emerald. And I ain't gonna lie, man, at first I was hesitant about lending him my Pokemon game, but I had beaten the game a while ago and I wasn't playing it much. Worst case scenario, he was gonna start over the game, which I was already close to doing anyway. Plus, Kevin was an honest, good country boy. I mean, he meant no harm. So, after thinking it over, I let him borrow all 3 games. I remember going to bed that night and playing Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. I never heard the name Kirby before this game. I liked Kirby. The next day, just like the 3 days before, around 11 a.m., I went and sat outside, waiting on Kevin to come down the hill. 1 hour passed, 2 hours passed. Before you knew it, it was the middle of the afternoon. Still, no Kevin. Now I was starting to get worried. Because
nigga took your stuff and left, bro.
had my Pokemon Emerald, and I wasn't about to let him borrow it for 2 nights in a row. Eventually, I decided to go and investigate, Started to climb up the hill, and at the very top of the hill was a small yellow house. I went up to the front grill, and I started knocking on the metal bars separating me from the inside of the house. I knocked and knocked and knocked, thinking that Kevin was just somewhere inside, fully consumed with playing his new games. I mean, could I really blame him? Eventually, the front door to the house opened, and out came an older woman who looked very annoyed. Excuse me, little boy. Can you tell me why you're back from the gate? Oh, I'm sorry. Is Kevin home? Oh, okay. You're Kevin's friend. No, baby. Kevin went back home. Back home? What do you mean? Doesn't he live here? Oh, no, baby. He was just visiting for the week. What? He was just visiting for the week. He left this morning. Him never tell him was leaving. Never tell him was leaving. Never tell him was leaving. Immediately it started to sink in. Kevin was gone, and he took all of my games with him.
Bro ain't even tell him that.
Pokemon.
Bro ain't tell him that he was leaving.
Betrayed. And of course, wanted to be mad. But to be honest, This was the same Pokemon game that I had stolen from this other kid. That was one of the very first stories I told on this channel. So, in a way, I kind of had it coming. And even though I felt like bro did me dirty, he did save me from being bored out of my mind for a few days. And he left me a new game that ended up being really fun to play. Moral of the story, be careful who you trust. And remember, appearances can be deceiving. Because the only difference between a saint and a sinner is a good reason.
Bro, check it out, bro. Like, it's hard trusting people, bro. It's hard, bro. And especially when they give off appearance that they a good person. But if you guys like this reaction, man, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's your boy to the K, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.